So, is gaming better now than it was back in the day? Sure, games today have a lot more polish to them than ever before, but games back in the day couldn't really give a fuck about their looks and concentrated straight on their personalities. Well, I mean, gameplay. The only reason I'm bringing this up particularly is just because I don't know, I hear a lot of people complaining about today's age of gaming, complaining that it's very generic and similar, which I get, it is very similar, especially with all the FPSs and, like, if you're on Steam, like all the early access zombie survival games. But personally, I prefer this age of gaming over, back in the day. I know some of the reasons I have are kind of bullshit and cheap shots, but honestly, here's kind of why I prefer this age of gaming rather than before. Bullshit aside, of course, like company bullshit, I mean. So just to get some of those bullshit reasons out of the way right now, there's a lot more games available than there were back in the day. There's a lot more options, including the old games that you want to play, whether it's on the consoles that they originated on or the newer consoles, depending if they have the port or not, or PC, or, you have a lot of options nowadays. I know that's a bit of a cheap shot, like that's, for obvious reasons, but it's still technically something worth noting. Another thing worth noting is that gaming today is a multi-billion-dollar industry, so that whole gamers are in the basement mentality is a lot less prevalent, and those who still have that thought are generally considered out of tune or old as fuck. I understand that AAA developers and publishers nowadays are way too scared to release anything out of the norm, considering how much money they put into their games, which, whole new topic, but anyways, besides that point, I feel that indie game developers, some of them at least, are innovating their respective genres in a whole new way. Like Undertale is a great example of that. Five Nights at Freddy's is a good example of that. Shower with Your Dad Simulator 2015 is a good example of that. Not to mention the fact that indie games are a lot more flexibly priced. Flexibly. Yeah, they're a lot more that priced compared to AAA games. Always sticking to the $59.99. $59.99. Or if you're a Canadian, $79.99. $79.99. And depending on how far back you're talking about, online gaming is still a relatively new thing. Consoles specifically, and I know some consoles back in the day, like some of their games had certain online functionality, but I'm talking practical, mainstream, affordable sort of online gaming for consoles. But it's still a relatively new thing, and I understand that some people, and probably most people, prefer that local co-op, but to say that online, nowadays, is an inherently bad thing, I would disagree with that, but I understand, for example, developers and publishers prioritizing that, even if it was originally a single-player game. I do feel like that can be a bad thing unless they go in a new direction. But anyways, that's a whole new subject, but online gaming, just kind of like Google, isn't a bad thing in itself, but it can be shitty depending on the community of the games. And while we're on the subject of online, DLC, for the 3 times that it was done well, can really expand the game that you love and get you to go back to it, which, gets more value out of your dollar overall. I know you gotta spend some money on the DLC, depending on the price and all that, some of them can be ridiculously expensive, but for the ones that are done right and are reasonably priced for a game that you already love, it can expand a game that you already love and, get more enjoyment out of the game that you love. And as much as I can't really mention this as a good thing, considering that, people are using this as an excuse to sort of publish their games early, unfinished, patches on paper at least are good. Because we didn't have that option back in the day of fixing a game that was broken, depending on the game. PS2 days, you couldn't really do that. There was no patches. You'd have to buy a whole new edition of the game. And don't get me wrong, publishers and developers are using that to their advantage to release some fucking broken games. But the ones that are genuine about their projects, that happen to release a game that they didn't find the bug to themselves. They can fix the game after it's released, so you don't have to buy a whole new copy and all that. So, like I said, on paper it's good. Obviously, they've taken advantage of the system, but on paper it's good. The fact that it's available to those who are going to use it in a legitimate way, that's, in my opinion, that's good. And my last point would be that nowadays, from a consumer standpoint, gaming can still be a profitable thing if you're one of the lucky ones to be able to do like gaming full time, whether it's let's plays or game reviews or even competitive gaming. If you're one of the lucky ones to be able to do that, it can be a profitable thing for the consumer. So that's, like, honestly, that's pretty sick. That wasn't exactly an option back in the day. Like, I know some people, like even like Classic Gamer, for example, was doing it way back in the 90s and shit. But it wasn't as, I guess, as viable as it was today. Not that it's super, like, accessible as a career, which is why you should start it part-time, and if you build enough of an audience to be able to do it. Anyways, besides the point, what I'm saying is that back in the day, that wasn't exactly an option, but nowadays it is, you know? It can be. I mean, fuck, I keep rambling about this. You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. This video isn't honestly to knock older games or anything. I have no problem with older games. Like, fuck, they're our foundation. I guess this video was more directed towards the people that are quick to say that gaming back in the day was a lot better than what it is now, and again, they're not wrong. It's an opinion. Like, you can't really be wrong in an opinion because that's what you prefer and all that. But anyways, I feel like that's part of the fact that there's a lot more discussion happening around gaming when it comes up to like sexism, racism, and how certain people or groups are depicted in gaming, and you know, things like that. Which, you know, I understand that, and also there's a lot more company bullshit happening for sure. And, you know, if that turns you off about the modern gaming industry, like, that's completely understandable. But, like, personally, I can kind of see past that, and, you know, for the reasons stated before in this video, that's personally why I can see past it and why I prefer this age of gaming. So, I don't know, and also I feel like again, this is a small minority, but some of the retro gamers are looking for that, I guess you can call it first high, that they got when they first started gaming. You know, that first feeling of, like, I guess you could say discovery and just your first time enjoying a game. Like, you know, it's why I'm using the whole first high thing, because I feel like it relates in a sense where, you know, when you first started gaming, it was so much more exciting than, and in my opinion, it was so much more exciting before than it is now, which, again, isn't a knock towards even modern games. It's just, you know, when you first get into something, you're first discovering it, you know, you're first enjoying it. This is your first time really, you know, fucking with the gaming industry, I guess you could say. But, I don't know. Those are the reasons I personally prefer this age of gaming as opposed to what it was before. What are you buying?
Yeah, buddy.
What are you selling? Time to do this. Hey everybody, this is Nodda Productions. Welcome to another Let's Play. Today, we're going to be playing... Hey! It's Nintendo!